the stuff that people don't want to hear, you know, that's like, I mean, I've always been a big meditator, prayer, all that stuff works, right? That there's no doubt that works. But you know what's crazy, man? It's been a big game changer for me is actually getting on the breathwork game. Really like using some apps, like actually like really dedicating like 15 minutes to good breath work to get myself into the right state. I mean, there is again, I'm like such a sometimes to my detriment, like such a scientific minded person that it takes me out of the realm of like some of the stuff that sometimes really matters, right? But like I almost need a little bit of scientific proof for me to like get buy-in enough to go off the deep end. And breath work was one of those things where it took me a long time. It took me like seeing fMRI scans and like how people's brains change. And so like that was like a tactical thing, right? Like that was like, okay, so when I go into the gym, again, I'm fortunate enough like I can go in my garage or like my studio gym, like where I film and stuff, and I can be separate and I can do my own thing. You know, I'll do 10 or 15 minutes of like guided breath work through an app or something that just gets me into that moment of presence with my workout, right? Like that's like me putting food on the table is also dependent on me to a certain degree being able to train and work out. And if like my mind is somewhere else, that I carry that the rest of the day because I'm like, oh, I didn't give it my all. I didn't like now I'm letting my family down, you know, like all the stuff that we carry with that. So being able to be present, like there are those tactical things that you can do, but I think a lot of it really is like being able to be aware of when you aren't being present, and which is sounds very cliche and very basic, but you know, little mindfulness exercises that you can do like in the present, right? Actually, another thing that John Deloney taught me actually is really interesting is you've probably heard the story because I think he's talked about it. His, you know, his father was a homicide detective. And one thing that he taught me as someone that overthinks things a lot, you have a tendency to not be present because you're thinking about the thoughts, right? You're thinking and you're ruminating on that. So he said his dad had taught him that like one of the worst things that he could do as a homicide detective was his role was to like walk into a crime scene and read the room, right? Analyze, check the emotions, kind of get the idea of what's going on here, like to start kind of investigating. And to not have the ability to turn that off when you go home is extremely dangerous because you don't need to like analyze everything that's going on. You need to simply be an observer, right? Like they call it in like witness consciousness, right? Like you can talk about that like in like where you're able to kind of observe what's happening in your own mind and observe without actually trying to analyze everything that's going on. So the reason that I say that is because the guilt typically is like a constant overanalyzing. Like you're just overanalyzing. Like you're just thinking so much of like every catastrophizing situation that could go wrong to the point where it finally bubbles up as an emotion that we call guilt. And like, what the heck is guilt, right? It's a vocabulary, it's a word that we've made up to describe a feeling, right? And this feeling is I'm not good enough or I'm not putting it all on the table. So if we break it down to what that feeling really feels like, it does feel like you're not giving it all, right? You usually feel guilty when you're not giving a fucking 100%. So give 100%, right? So it's like, and also be okay with sometimes that you're not. So when you go home, um, you know, you just be like, what does it feel like? I don't need to be giving 100% to everything at all times, but you do need to be giving 100% in those micro levels, right? We cannot multitask. Humans have like, we don't have the ability to multitask. We just don't. And the sooner that people can accept that, the easier that it gets to be like, I'm not going to be good if I multitask. Like it is always going to be a 70% here or a 30% there. So it can be in a 5 minute period of time, but I promise you, like that 5 minutes of just being like 100% is going to be better than 2 hours of being 50%. It's like the math doesn't add up there, but it does. And we've all experienced this. You know, I had been really busy the last like few weeks, and I'm like, we're here in Tahoe, so I'm like enveloped in just the family chaos and the kids. And the other day, I finally just like went into the playroom with my son, and I like built Legos with him, and I just gave him my 100% undivided attention, and it for like 10 minutes, and it fixed the behavioral issues that we were frustrated with over the last 2 days. It was like he just needed like me to be 100% like no distraction, committed to that playtime, and that also solved the guilt problem for me. And it didn't take much. So I guess the ultimate thing I'm saying is like these little deposits of 100% go a really, 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 really long way. And So if you be like, okay, I'm put the phone down for 5 freaking minutes, 5 minutes, and just give it, you are doing not only your kids a service, but you're doing yourself a service because you'll feel like, yeah, you know what? That when you realize the problem of guilt is the problem of like recognizing that you're not giving 100%, the answer is okay, give 100%, and the guilt goes away, even if it's just for a minute.
Jay-Z.
I love that you finish on the example of your son there, because that's where I think I've started to notice it most prevalently is when I'm with my 2-year-old daughter, and that if I'm not 100% locked in with her, then I start to feel that guilt. So tactical presence, that's what I'm taking away from that message there, sir. Thank you very much.
I like that, man. That's good.